So, ladies and gentlemen, Ilhan Omar, once again, she's shown everyone she does not care for America. But not as much as she cares about prioritizing foreign interests over America's through her repeated anti-America rhetoric, her anti-Trump stance. Even despite backlash, including from within her own party, she continues to double down, arguing that the president must be stopped and Congress must vote to take control of the Iran situation. And so we're going to break all that down. As always, make sure you smash that thumbs up button if you do enjoy the content. That's the best way to let me know, and to stay locked in with future videos. Subscribe to the channel and turn your notification bells on. That way you never miss a video when I drop. Let's get right into it.
I rise today to support this resolution. Donald Trump is unilaterally dragging this nation into an illegal and unjustified war with Iran. As someone who survived the horrors of war, I know that bombs do not build peace or create stability. Military strikes will not make us safer. They will inflame tensions and push the region further into chaos. Every time we abandon diplomacy, we choose destruction. We know who will bear the costs of this decision: innocent civilians caught in the crossfire and young service members sent into harm's way. The American people are exhausted by endless wars built on false promises and paid for with American and foreign lives. Congress must reassert its constitutional authority. I urge my colleagues to vote yes to stop U.S. involvement in another illegal forever war. Thank you, and I yield back.
And that's what makes this woman so unbearable. She's anti-America, and she constantly confirms it with her actions. Right as the House votes to affirm Iran as the largest state sponsor of terrorism, passing 372 to 53, 53 Democrats voted against it, and guess who was one of the 53? Yes, Ilhan Omar. But let's get into this next clip, because I came across it from a reporter, a journalist, who alleges Omar isn't who she says she is when it comes to her past. Check it out.
And make regime change really does not help the people of countries like Venezuela, and it certainly does not help, and it's not in the interest of the United States.
For Ilhan Omar to make comments about a regime change is wild, considering her family's history, and I figured not enough people know about her family's history, so let's recap. Her dad and her grandfather were both high-ranking military officials to the Bar regime, which killed over 200,000 people. They're most famous for the Isaac genocide, and they were like, it was the worst of the worst. Aerial bombings, executions, man-made famine. People massively suffered under this regime with the help of people like Ilhan Omar's family, who supported the regime and carried out this horror. Also, you want to know how Barr started out? As a socialist and then became a murderous dictator. I digress. They have family ties to this guy known as the Butcher of Hargeisa, and his whole shtick was kill all but the crows. So I don't know about you, but I've never been in public or at a public gathering with a butcher of people. So the suffering of the people of Somalia was so bad that there was a civil war and the regime was overthrown. Her family fled to first Kenya and then Minnesota, claiming they're like these asylum seekers, these poor people. No. They were fleeing to escape being held accountable for what they did. She was not oppressed. Her family, they were the oppressors. So for the Democratic Party to have her as a representative is insane to me. Like, that's who you want your party to represent. That's who you want to represent your party? Really? And the way that they've like rebranded her as, oh, this poor refugee. No, she wasn't a refugee of war.
Ilhan Omar has made it clear she's in Congress to represent Somali interests, while arrogantly believing she knows what's best for America. Yet she can't even operate from a place of basic common sense. For someone who constantly speaks of escaping a war-torn country, she fails to understand or simply doesn't care to acknowledge what the Iranian people have endured under the Ayatollah's regime and the imminent threat it posed. But that is something Senator John Fetterman highlighted when explaining his yay vote to affirm that, yes, Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism. He also voted not to block President Trump's Operation Epic Fury. Check it out.
I want to ask you why you are out of step with the rest of your party. They say there was no urgency to this, it did not need to happen now, and they say there's no plan. Why do you disagree? What did you hear differently?
Well, as far as I know, all of my colleagues that you just ran their clips of them, how they're describing of that, right? They've all say that, we must never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb. And now every other of them also thinks now no one is going to weep that the Ayatollah is gone now too. Now those things, they all agree on that. And then when that happens, why can't you just acknowledge that that's actually a good thing? Or do they really mean that? Or do they don't care if Iran ever has a nuclear bomb? Or that a man that just 2 weeks ago executed tens of thousands of its own young citizens in their uprising. So now I think it's pretty fair to just call that it's a much better situation for Iran now not have a nuclear bomb. It's also someone of the most evil people alive at that point now has been erased now along with many of the other parts of the leadership.
The hypocrisy on full display from Democrats, basically all but four, Fetterman being one of them, voted not to block the president's operation. And we know why this is happening. It's because it's Trump. Matter of fact, let's get into this next clip where Hakeem Jeffries, a.k.a. Walmart discount Timu Obama, was called out on it. On the fact that when Obama was out there launching strikes in the Middle East countries, nobody in his party really cared. Matter of fact, Nancy Pelosi was out here riding for him, letting it be known that, hey, we stick by our president. But now all of a sudden they're pushing a war powers resolution to rein in Trump. Take a look.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. Back in 2011, Nancy Pelosi said that then President Obama didn't need congressional approval to bomb Libya. Now House Democrats say President Trump needs that approval to bomb Iran. What's the difference?
Well, obviously, Libya and the circumstances connected to that were very different than the circumstance that we face in Iran right now. I mean, I don't even understand the genesis or basis of that question. Not suggesting that you're not asking it in good faith.
Libya went on for 7 months.
As I've indicated, first of all, I was not in Congress at the time. So we're dealing with what we're dealing with right now, which is a catastrophic, endless war, as Donald Trump has characterized it, without any justification that there was going to be a preeminent assault or attack on the United States of America, either in our homeland or as it relates to our interests in the Middle East. The administration is not even pretending like they have intelligence or information at this point, publicly. And certainly there's been nothing that has been presented to us privately to justify a preemptive strike of this nature that has triggered an all-out war in the Middle East. And by the way, Donald Trump is the one who said in the aftermath of the 12-day war that Iran's nuclear program has been completely and totally obliterated. Not my words, his words. So was he lying to the American people then, or is he lying now?
So, Madam Speaker, or Madam Leader, you're saying that the president did not need authorization initially and still does not need any authorization from Congress on Libya?
Yes.
Thank you both.
Thank you all very much.
Hakeem Jeffries, Democrats, they know if the shoe was on the other foot and if it was Democrats in the White House, they wouldn't be pulling the stunt. They wouldn't. It's not even debatable or shocking at this point. None of this is. None of this is a first. Trump isn't doing something that's unprecedented. This is an executive authority that Congress itself handed over to the president long ago because when it gets serious and a decision needs to be made, you don't have time to go through Congress that has 435 House reps and another 100 in the Senate. The commander-in-chief, the president, needs to be able to make the call. But you still have people like Sonny Holston on The View who just don't get it. And fortunately, they actually have a conservative voice up there now, Elizabeth Hasselbeck, and she lays out the facts, pointing out the blatant double standards that leaves, Sonny with no real answers. Take a look.
us, and that they have my heart for life. I want to ask you why you keep calling this like an undocumented attack, that you don't agree with the war,
an illegal, unconstitutional
So did you
act.
believe it was illegal in April of 2011 when the Office of Legal Counsel memo stated from President Obama that the president has constitutional authority to direct the use of military force in Libya because he could reasonably determine that such use of force was in the national interest prior congressional approval was not constitutionally required to use military force in these operations? Where were you then complaining?
I agreed. Well, I wasn't on the show then.
No, but personally, would you have stood against that?
I was at home complaining. No, I wasn't complaining because the Office of Legal
that?
Counsel was involved. And the Office of Legal Counsel...
This came after.
But the Office of Legal Counsel is the office in the Department of Justice, because I worked at the Department of Justice, that reviews these things and makes legal determinations. This president doesn't go through the Office of Legal Counsel. This president does not go to Congress. Congress has the power to to approve wars. This Congress has the power of the purse. This president is acting more like a king than anything else. He is the commander. He's the commander-in-chief,
Truman.
but he is not a king. And so I think that this should have gone through Congress. I think that the American embassies should have been notified so that American citizens in the Middle East would have been able to get to safety. I don't think that this was done appropriately. I maintain that this is illegal and unconstitutional.
Do you like the result?
But
do you like the result?
No, I don't.
So you would rather the regime head and those 40, 18 leaders
I think it's very
easy
easy
to
to
start
start
This is going to be a longer
very difficult to
conversation.
end one.
Since this is going to be a longer conversation, we're going to take a break.
Regard to what Sonny's saying about it being an illegal war, every modern president since Reagan has done this in attacks from Syria, Libya, Bosnia, Panama. So it happens continually to give it context. The other thing is the travel.
What does?
That Congress has ceded this power a long time ago. And I have a lot of criticisms on Congress, and this is one of them. If you want to be part of the conversation, don't hand your power over to the presidents, which they have done.
Listen, military operations always come with risk. No one's denying that. The potential loss of American soldiers is the heaviest cost. And we already seen the ripple effects like rising gas prices hitting the economy. But no one with at least common sense is arguing that the Ayatollah and his regime didn't have to go. The decision was made because of the imminent threats they pose, from nuclear ambitions to sponsoring terror worldwide. Now, we await to see how this all plays out. But listen, at this point, you got to trust the president, his track record with Venezuela, and things he's done, the intelligence, the strategy, the full picture, which most of us don't have access to because it's classified for good reason to protect the forces and operations. We got to trust it. It's easy to armchair quarterback this whole thing from the sideline and criticize, but without actually knowing all the information, hindsight is 20/20. But the reality is bold action like this is what ends long-standing threats when diplomacy fails. And so let's just hope that it wraps up decisively and benefits safer regions. No more Iranian nukes looming, and it outweighs the short-term pain of it all that we're seeing right now. But that's the update and my thoughts. Now let me hear from you. As always, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know you enjoy the content. Stay locked in with future videos. Subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.